Leslie Sanchez is a Republican strategist and CBSN political contributor, and she joins us now from Los Angeles. Boy, Leslie, things are heating up for sure. Ted Cruz just won in Iowa. He's historically stayed away from insulting Donald Trump. So why the aggression, especially after this big win?
You know, I think the aggression's coming out of a lot of these campaigns. It's certainly coming out of Donald Trump, but I almost argue that it's 40 years too late for him to have his first defeat. Part of this process, especially for Republican candidates, is getting through Iowa. It's a bit of an endurance test. It's a very social conservative state. It's a bit different than the rest of the framework when you're talking about a general market strategy and looking to November. So New Hampshire balances that out. The problem is you're seeing right now it starts to lean out the crowd. They run out of money. We talked about the fact that after the Iowa loss, it was going to be much more expensive for Donald Trump to stay engaged, and he's going to have to actually do the groundwork. It's just what that translates to is a lot of frustration, a lot of high tones, and a lot of excitement within the campaign, and now you're seeing it bubble over.
From a tactical standpoint, though, on the part of Ted Cruz, is this a good move, sort of trying to clearly get into Donald Trump's head?
I think it also helps Ted Cruz with the narrative that here is somebody who looks irrational, who wants to completely do a re-over, kind of a redo. This is not a game of Monopoly. This is real people voting for president. So it really is drawing a very nice contrast, and it benefits Ted Cruz. He looks more solid, stable, seasoned leader versus having what he's talking about, a temper tantrum. He's put that in the media ecosystem, and that can certainly stick.
What about for Donald Trump to be dwelling on Iowa here and tweeting about all of this instead of sort of focusing those energies on looking ahead? Is that helpful?
It's really not helpful because part of this process is really endurance. Who has the game, the gamesmanship to really move ahead? And he needs to be thinking about not only New Hampshire, but South Carolina, where Ted Cruz is extremely strong. It's winnowing out, but it's also the dollars, the donors. And is this idea going to stick, which a lot of people have been critical of Donald Trump? He has a really engaged audience that likes to watch or gawk, but they're not necessarily going to turn out to the polls. That's starting to come to fruition if you just look at Iowa. So the focus really needs to be on mobilizing his most strongest supporters, and maybe even a contrast from a policy perspective with Ted Cruz, but not having a temper tantrum about Iowa.
Leslie, I want to play some sound from Ben Carson today. He's defending his trip to Florida immediately after the Iowa caucuses.
Well, let me ask you this question. Is it okay after being on the road for almost 3 weeks to go home and get a fresh change of clothes? Or is that a problem? Does that make somebody into an evil, horrible person?
All right, to put this in context for our viewers who may not have seen this, Carson has accused Cruz's campaign of spreading rumors on caucus night in Iowa that Carson was dropping out of the race. Now, Cruz says his team had seen a report that Carson would be taking time off from the campaign trail to fly to Florida and thought it meant he was dropping out. So what do you think about all this?
Sure. I mean, I think a lot of this is a bit of political back and forth with the campaigns trying to paint their candidate in the best light, also trying to put pressure on Dr. Carson to possibly drop out and pull his momentum. Remember, you're talking it's a zero-sum game. Pull the momentum from his supporters over to some of the other leading front runners going into New Hampshire. So it's all very tactical. With respect to Dr. Carson, this is part of the campaign process. You can't show any sign of weakness or your opponents will pounce on it. It's a very fair thing to say, I want to jump off the campaign trail. It's just such a critical time. A seasoned campaign staff and team knows that you really can't take your foot off the gas right now.
Let me ask you about Rand Paul and Rick Santorum both dropping out of the race. Do they have supporters to go to any of the other candidates at this point? How valuable or not valuable might their endorsements be to one of the other candidates?
These endorsements can be really pivotal because most of the individuals who've stayed with them are very loyal party activists. They get out on cold nights, they organize, they show up as delegates during the Republican conventions in the summer. So it's really critical that we start putting more of these delegates under one umbrella and coalescing around one candidate. Otherwise, you see splintering, you see a lot of frustration within the GOP. You can have healthy conversations, but I always believe it's better to have them from inside the tent than outside. So those endorsements really do fundamentally matter.
All right, Leslie Sanchez coming to us from Los Angeles tonight. Leslie, thank you so much.
Thank you.